Hi everyone. Right, stanzas 3 and 4 of the captain of the 1964 top of the form team. Okay, so the poem from this point really picks up in terms of its momentum towards the present day, and in the final stanza we see the persona in the present. So I'll just read them both to you and then we'll crack on. Dave D. Dozy, try me, come on. My mother kept my mascot Gonk on the TV set for a year. And the photograph. I look so brainy you'd think I just had a bath. The blazer, the badge, the tie, the first chord of a hard day's night loud in my head. I ran to the spinney in my prize shoes, up Churchill way up Nelson Drive, over pink pavements that girls chalked on in a blue evening, and I stamped the paw prints of badgers and skunks in the mud. My country. I want it back, the captain, the one with all the answers. Bzz. My name was in red on Lucille Green's jotter. I smiled as wide as a child who went missing on the way home from school. The Keeney. I say to my stale wife, 6 hits by Dusty Springfield. I say to my boss, a pint. How can we know the dancer from the dance? Nobody. My thick kids wince. Name the Prime Minister of Rhodesia. My country. How many florins in a pound? Okay, so the sense of how bitter the persona is with the way that their life has turned out is really prominent in that final stanza. And in this third stanza, we get a kind of build up towards the present. So we start with Dave D. Dozy. That's a reference, I have to look it up, it's a reference to like an old band. So again, it's an attempt to like answer a trivia question or show his knowledge. Try me, come on. We'll just pick those out as further examples of that. And I think here is where it's not just an example of like the confidence, but it's bordering on arrogance, isn't it? Try me, come on. It's almost combative and kind of squaring up to somebody and challenging them. So they are imperatives, is the word I'm looking for. Imperatives, and they also suggest that the poetic voice, their confidence is growing and it's becoming arrogant almost. So there's some arrogance there in that poetic voice. And then we've got an interesting bit kind of structurally here. My mother kept my mascot Gonk on the TV set for a year. So the enjambment here and the position with the indented line is clearly important. So enjambment and an indent means that structurally this line is quite isolated and our attention is drawn to it. So enjambment and the indent. So that to me is trying to replicate the position of importance that this mascot was given on the TV set of the parents. So if you imagine a TV set might be in the middle of the room and then this mascot sat on top of it, it's kind of given pride of place with lots of attention drawn to it. And the position, on the line is, it's not fully in the middle, but it is given its own importance, isn't it? Because it's on a line on its own. So it symbolises the importance, not of that mascot specifically, but what that mascot represented. So the importance to the parents of their son's intellect, clearly something that they prized and rewarded him for. So the importance of knowledge and intellect. And they say that, and the photographs, obviously a photograph taken when he was part of the quiz team. Now this next bit I want you to think about, and in fact this is actually the last, no it's not, it's the second last thing I want you to think about, is this bit here. I look so brainy you'd think I'd just had a bath. It's quite an odd comparison to make, and I want you to have a little think about what that might mean. What has the idea of looking brainy got to do with having a bath? It's a bit of an odd one. Then the poetic voice, he recalls, again, more specifics of the memory: the blazer, the badge, the tie, the first chord of a hard day's night loud in my head. Now, I think probably we're in danger of just repeating ourselves if we would highlight that again, because we've got quite a lot of reference to this asynthetic listing. But what I would just draw attention to is the use of the definite article in the list. It's the badge, the blazer, the tie, which confers on them a certain level of importance. So the definite article. Again, it's not my blazer or my tie or my badge or a blazer, it's the blazer. So this suggests that a level of importance, almost like this uniform, is symbolic of his intellect. So symbolic of his intellect. First chord of a hard day's night loud in my head. So just another kind of reference to back to the start, to the music that kind of played during this time in his life. Then we get this kind of quite, not jarring, that's the wrong word, just contrasting bit of structure, because it's been quite broken up, lots and lots of these kind of short minor sentences and these lists, and then we get a bit more of a developed lengthy description. I ran to the spinney in my prize shoes, up Churchill Way, up Nelson Drive, over pink pavements that girls chalked on, in a blue evening dress. In a blue evening, and I stamped the paw prints of badgers and skunks in the mud, my country. So in this description, I'm just going to pick out the prepositions. I ran to the spinney, up Churchill Way, over the pink pavements. And these bring with them, and this is similar to Stafford Afternoons, I think. It's about the use of prepositions to suggest a journey. That's what's happening here. So all these prepositions symbolise the journey that he is on, not just the journey in that memory of like going from school to home, which is what this journey is, but it's the journey into adulthood, and then we kind of get to adulthood right at the end of this stanza. So journey to adulthood or growing up. That's the L there, adulthood. And the last thing I want you to think about for this poem is, why put in this detail here? I stamped the paw prints of badgers and skunks in the mud. Is that telling us something? Perhaps, again, is it about the control, the power that the persona felt? What's that all about, do you think? And then we end this stanza on this reference, my country, which makes me think of This Country. I don't know if any of you watched that on BBC iPlayer. It was amazingly funny. And they say, this country is ours. And it's all about that sense of like belonging in a very specific place. And this is the first time we see the use of my. Everything, there's been a lot of dissociation, a lot of the, and a lot of distancing, and not a lot of kind of linking to the persona themselves. But we finally see that here with the first person personal pronoun, my country. And that symbolises the move towards the present, because the persona now adopts this memory as part of them. It was a distant part of them earlier, but now we're moving closer to the present. It's a more conscious part of their memory. So they are adopting the memory as their own. And then that contrasts to something else later on. And then in this stanza we have a kind of shift in time. We have a prolepsis to the future, yes, which means we have a volta between these stanzas. We have a significant shift. And we start with this line, I want it back, which I think is quite heavily charged and quite emotional. There's a real desperation. It's such a simple sentence structure, isn't it? And the language in it is really pared back and quite raw, and that helps to communicate the kind of sense of longing that you can have as you get older for these memories of your past when things were simpler and you felt like you were a more impressive version of yourself. So this line, really simple sentence with really simplistic language. Conveys that kind of raw desperation for the past that you often feel as you get older. And he wants to be the captain again. I think we've talked already about what being the captain represented, that sense of control and power that he obviously doesn't feel that he has now. The one with all the answers was, my name was read on Lucille Green's jotter. I smiled as wide as a child who went missing on the way home from school. Keeney. I say to my stale wife. So I'm going to explore two quotes here that kind of create a pattern. My stale wife and my thick kids. It's charming, isn't it? My stale wife, my thick kids, my country. So we have a pattern built up here of this personal pronoun. So used in a triplet, my wife, my kids, my country. And there's a kind of like inevitability to that, like he can't escape the fact that this is his future, this is his present, this is the woman that he's ended up with, these are the kids that he has, and there's a kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, like an acceptance in his voice, or acceptance in the persona of the kind of dispiriting nature of the life he's ended up with. I'm going to check this is still recording. I'm worried that it's not. No, it is. Right, I better get a move on though because I think my battery's dying. And it's a pattern because we've got it here and down here as well. We also, you could say the adjectives stale and thick represent dysphemisms. It's pretty weird, isn't it? So those dysphemisms, again, just show that the kind of dissatisfaction, the critical way that the persona views their life. His children and his wife don't live up to the hopes that he had for his life when he was younger. And then what he's attempting to do at the end of this is he's attempting to relive his youth in his adult life. So he's trying to kind of almost quiz with his wife, 6 hits by Dusty Springfield, but she's not interested. And then he says to his boss, a pint, how can we know the dancer from the dance? So this is like a unit of measurement. This is a line from a W.B. Yeats poem. So he's trying to quiz people, but nobody's interested. My thick kids wince. Now, we can just think about this as our final point. So what does that verb suggest? That verb suggests if you wince, it shows your discomfort, and it's almost like a cringe. So the children are uncomfortable with the way that their father is behaving. It's clearly embarrassing. There's something out of time about him. He can't accept who he is now. And it's that sense of nostalgia for the past being something which is ultimately and inevitably a really corrosive force on memory. If you are too nostalgic for the past, it makes you dissatisfied with the present. So we're going to end on that point. Nostalgia is a corrosive form of memory because it just breeds dissatisfaction with your present. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that one. I did.